Hey everybody, welcome back to Kayfabe Critique. I'm David.
Hey, I'm Jason.
And so we're picking right back up with our topic of the NWO. Where we left off last time, we were talking about Eric Bischoff had formed WCW Monday Nitro. It's up and launched. The Monday Night Wars are on. And he's talking about this reality-based storyline that he was looking for. And he could tell that the wrestling audience was looking for something new.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just look at the world in 1996. Let's think about it. One of the first things that comes to mind is East Coast, West Coast beef in hip hop. You had Tupac Shakur and his beef with the Notorious B.I.G. and I mean, that's playing out on magazine covers, it's playing out in diss tracks. I mean, it's playing out all over the place, and it's very real, and it's like you have to choose a side. I mean, 1996, you had to, you could not. I mean, it's either East Coast or West Coast. I mean, what side are you on? And I believe that stuff like that, that's based in reality, I believe that had to have some influence on, like, if you're looking at how people are drawn to that kind of drama, it's like, why can't we put something like that into wrestling?
When you also look at, things like at the time, you had, prior in politics, it was always trying to send a feel-good message.
Mm-hmm.
In 1995, you had the big government shutdown with a lot of finger-pointing starting to go on. So you started to get kind of a more realistic view of politics during this time. Other TV shows and stuff started to flirt with darker storylines than previous. So you're right, there was definitely a switch in the feel of what people were looking for in terms of entertainment. And so yeah, he was right in to start thinking of something reality based. And also what he was doing was he was looking just to be different. He wanted to be different than the competition.
Yeah, I mean, the competition was still Bob Sparky Plug. That just comes, one of the first things that comes to mind. The competition, you had things like Men on a Mission,
Doink the Clown.
Doink the Clown, which, I mean, was funny, but it's like, if I'm 18 years, 1996, I graduated from high school. I don't want to see Doink the Clown.
Right, and so he's wanting it. Also, his strategy, just from a business standpoint, is by doing it differently than the WWE, by creating an alternate product, you have a chance to pull in a different audience without necessarily having to fight for the same people.
Right.
And so it's very interesting that here he is as he's building this up. On the other side, you have two guys who are, and we're talking about Kevin Nash and Scott Hall playing Diesel and Razor Ramon respectively in the WWE, are part of the Clique. And the Clique's going to Vince McMahon and telling him some of the same stuff of let's go edgier, let's go more realistic, let's go darker storylines. And we saw that, with the Clique, like we've heard that it was, Kevin Nash's idea to give the concussion angle to Shawn Michaels. And so, here were these guys that kind of had the same mindset of what Bischoff was looking for.
Right, they had the same mindset, and I mean, WWF flirted with the concussion storyline, but you still got the sense that they just did not want to go all the way in.
Yeah, and Shawn made that comment of, where he was having to tell him, like, no, don't talk, don't make it, part of wrestling. Drop the headset, get in the ring, act like you're concerned. Right. And so, yeah, there was definitely reluctance on the WWE side about pushing towards reality yet, which, and in their defense, you have to look at that they've been very successful with the model that they're running. He did something no one else had done. This was a model that worked. This was a model that made them rich and made Hogan and all those guys rich as well. And so at the time, he doesn't really see his product as broken. And so, then taking a look further at Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, you know, Diesel and Razor Ramon were big parts of the WWE.
Right.
They may not, you know, Diesel was champion for almost a year, one of the longest reigns,
right,
especially of that era. You know, and Razor Ramon, multiple-time Intercontinental champion, at that time, the most Intercontinental title reigns ever by an individual. So, definitely big parts of the storyline. Strong workers. You had Scott Hall was looking for more money.
Right.
And so he goes to, you know, Vince McMahon. He's talking about trying, you know, has he done everything he can do? You know, what else can he do to get his character over? Is it an issue with his work? Is it an issue with his mic skills? And he's getting, no, you're great. And he's like, well, you know, how about a little more money on the merchandise? And nothing's working out for him. And so, still had been friends with DDP because he had been in WCW prior as the Diamond Stud. DDP sets him up with Bischoff, and Bischoff says he didn't offer him more money than he was making in the WWE, but he got less dates.
Right.
So you're getting the same amount of money for less work. So it'd be like if you get offered a job for $10 an hour working 40 hours a week, or hey, you can come over here and make $20 an hour working 20 hours a week. You're making the same amount of money, so why not work less?
Exactly. I mean, and they're on the road 300 days a year in WWF, which has to wreak havoc on family life, and we know the stories about how, I mean, the road and drugs and things like that, how that, I mean, when you're on the road like that for that amount of time, it takes a toll on you.
Right, and so not only that, but the toll it takes on the longevity of your career.
Yeah.
To be able to work less and take less chances of getting injured, potentially he's now extending his career, so he can end up making more money in the long run.
Yeah, and they used to have to work hurt too. I mean,
it's
like, I mean, Undertaker working with cracked orbitals and things like that. I mean,
right, because in the WWE at this point, it's basically if you didn't work, you really didn't get paid.
Exactly, because they didn't guarantee contracts.
Right, and where WCW was giving guaranteed money.
Right.
And so, you know, and of course, you know, it's been proven through 83 weeks it wasn't Eric Bischoff who came in with the guaranteed contracts that existed in WCW prior to him coming in. But then you know, when you look at Diesel, you know, Kevin Nash, you know, also had previously been in WCW. Here he comes into the WWE as Shawn Michaels' bodyguard, quickly rises up, becomes superstar, becomes champion, and he's feeling like he's kind of did everything he can do in the WWE, and he's kind of getting frustrated with some of the direction of what's going on.
Yeah, because he was, I mean, like you said, he had been the champion. He had dropped the belt to Bret at Survivor Series 95, and I mean, after that, I mean, what really more could he have done? I mean, he wrestles Taker at WrestleMania, has a great match there, but really, what other direction was there for him to go in?
Yeah, and he tells a story of how he basically was a frustration of with Bret not really wanting to sell the powerbomb to him, and to really kind of set up more of the Diesel Undertaker match, and that kind of led to his frustration, which led him to going to Scott Hall and saying, see if you can get me a deal as well.
Yeah, because again, you don't know what, I mean, I can't even think of what they could have done with Diesel had he stayed. Given the direction that wrestling was going in, a character like Diesel probably wasn't going to work.
Right.
So.
And same with Razor.
Yeah.
They were both kind of locked in to that 80s model that was just being played out in the new generation.
Right. And both of them had enough charisma to where they didn't need those characters to be able to get over and connect with the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. They both could work in the ring, and they were both good on the mic.
Exactly.
And so, you know, but an interesting thing to think about as well is they were part of the Clique. And we know the Clique did a lot of things backstage, and some of that creativity that the Clique had thought of wound up playing into the NWO.
Yeah.
And so Scott Hall is coming into WCW. Kevin Nash is coming into WCW as well. And they previously had been in WCW. WCW really didn't do much with them. They ended up switching, going over to the WWE and becoming mega stars. And so now as they're coming back into WCW, they're coming back in with star power. And with that star power, they're giving Bischoff his reality element that he's looking at of these guys can be coming back in for revenge, and they're going to have the name to draw people to look at us.
Man, and we did an episode where we did backseat booking on how they brought in Bret Hart. I don't think they could have done anything better with how they brought in Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no question, without question, they did that right.
Yeah, because that debut and that start immediately started getting everyone talking about how hot the storyline was going to be, and potentially one of the best storylines in a while in wrestling up to that point.
Bro, I remember I was in Mississippi that summer. I remember watching Nitro that night. That, man, we're jumping ahead a little bit. That, like, let me go back a ways. This was, I believe, May 19th of 1996.
Yep. Yeah, the curtain call.
Gosh, I literally graduated high school 2 days before that. I'm old, y'all. Oh, gosh. So, May 19th, 1996, we have the curtain call where, I mean, this is reality-based wrestling. This is reality right here. You got good guys and bad guys in the ring together. So, this is like something that you didn't see. I mean, this is like, you know what? We're going to be real. We ride together on the road and stuff like that. We hang out. Shoot, I remember in 1995 in Chicago, I ran into like the British Bulldog, Tatanka, and Bam Bam Bigelow, and I think that at least two of those three were heels at the time, and they were all hanging out together. So, I mean, it definitely was playing out. It was definitely playing out in real life. So, these four guys, they always talk about riding together and stuff like that. So, they was like, you know what? These fans know in New York what time it really is, so we ain't gotta hide this no more.
Yeah, and so that's how they leave WWE, and so they kind of leave WWE on almost a sour note, because a lot of people in WWE feel that they killed Kayfabe in that moment.
They killed Kayfabe, so some people thought, but I mean, a lot of the fans in attendance
loved it.
They loved it, and they understood, really, they understood that it's a business, it's a work. I mean,
right.
They understood what was going on.
And knowing where the business is going to go, I find it funny that people still to this day get upset when they talk back on that moment, not realizing that we're not that far away from the chairman, the owner of the company, coming forward and saying, this is fake.
Yeah. We're not that far away from it. So, when you go from this moment here, which is a really, it's about as significant a moment in the Monday Night Wars that didn't take place on TV. I mean, isn't it ironic that one of the biggest moments took place on like a camcorder, was only shown on a camcorder?
Yeah, because it was a house show.
Yeah. So, I mean, you go from that to like Memorial Day of 1996. Scott Hall comes into WCW.
So yeah, so we're going to pause here, and that's where we will pick back up with Scott Hall showing up on WCW and what's going to change the course of wrestling forever, starting with this night.
All right. I got to respond to a few texts real quick, so we're going to take a break.
All right, so stick around and we'll be right back.